How did the thing go at the park?
It was good.
I wish somebody had reminded me. I forgot all about it. I was gonna bring my kids up here.
Well,
And I was on it, I had an email and all that, and just,
it was good, yeah.
The last email that I sent,
surprised my daughter-in-law didn't tell me, because I told her.
60 or 70
hold on,
people come in through.
Y'all do any hot dogs?
I mean, Bruce said she came with it.
We made about $350.
That's good.
No,
Yeah.
hold on, man, I'm fine.
That's good.
I think
Man, no, no.
most of it was food. There was some donations too, but that was,
Yeah.
most of it was food.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Right here it is.
It's what we overall, we donated with the fire department.
This is the, this.
I'll tell you what,
You're gonna need one, too.
I'll tell you what'd be good, if you could get one of them little carnivals in. I don't know how much stuff they'd tear up.
This
These
is
little
the
things, you got to
this is
bring
the
a few
last one I
machines,
sent.
things like that in. Stuff like, I don't know what kind of cuts they give or
I mean, do I need to
like
print
that,
it?
but it used to be a big deal years ago, those things. Now,
2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh,
Oh.
using something or other behind.
I just printed them, yeah.
yeah,
Because I see all the stuff back there.
yeah, there it is.
Is it Brinkley?
I don't know what the name of it is. It's back behind the, what is it, the Piggly Wiggly or something like that over at restaurant?
Back behind that shopping center.
Yeah.
Behind
Let me go help put those together. They
Yeah.
printed the wrong
in
one.
that gas station.
It wasn't me this time. They printed the wrong
I told you not to be sitting there eating last night. You should have been there in detail. Told you that.
control.
Showed you that.
It's okay, we got it.
We don't have it. We don't have it.
Well, hello, sir.
I just want to point out, Jimmy, you're talking about me and, always me and Derek, the two liberal ones. I just want to point out the other day, you were the first one to jump on board on that 50,000. I said, Jimmy got a pocketbook today. I was on the fence on it.
Well, you know, I got reservations about doing it because of the situation, but we did get grant money
Now, I agree.
that was to be spent. And I feel like, I'm glad that they exist instead of it being through the town. You know, because they have taken care of it all these years. I don't see, I mean, you know, I don't want them running up here every year, you know, doing that.
Yeah.
But,
I had some orders, but I kind of just randomly threw it out to a few people and they kind of gave their responses and I hadn't had anybody not in favor of it, thought it was a good idea, so.
hey, I was truthful what I said. If we didn't have the grant money,
Yeah.
and it was coming out of, you know, what we got in savings to keep us like we are, I wouldn't have done it, but, I just, hey, that's a big part of the community, always has been, as long as I remember.
Well, are we recording?
We are. Tim didn't leave, did he?
No, sir, I think staff's printing out a couple documents.
Oh, okay.
Evening, Jordan.
Yeah.
It's hump day, buddy.
Got a kid in All-Stars right now over at Huntsville, double duty.
Nice. No place you'd rather be, right?
If we're not gonna vote, then that's, we're not gonna vote, tell them to go on.
I'll have some questions.
Just FYI, the Girl Scouts are gonna come asking for some money for signage for that trail that goes off the ball field. Julia Rigsby's gonna be the presenter. I was informed-
Tonight?
No, I don't know when, I was informed of it. I don't know when it is or anything. Or what it is.
staff.
Well, I like mine open, transparency, open government. Want to be able to walk right by, see in the window, see what we're doing in here.
Messes up a video, no joke. I'll open it back up if you want it open.
I just want to make sure we're transparent.
I think those cameras get us about as transparent as we're gonna get. You know? I'm gonna waste a lot of paper.
She said the budget sheets themselves were correct, the budget message is kind of error and.
I mean, mine's
So this one's no good anymore.
Which one needs to come out?
that was in our folder, I guess. All right, Ms. Martin, do you have the recorder for up here?
It's right here, I had to put it on.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Stokesdale special called meeting. Today is June 14th, 2023. It is 7:05 p.m. If you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. If Mr. Rigsby could lead us in an invocation, please.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, you have given us wisdom and strength to be here tonight, to see the future and the integrity and the guidance to try to drive that future into a positive direction for our citizens. Please continue to bless over us and bless those that are less fortunate and ensure that our good works help those as much as we can. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jim. Item number 2 is review and adopt the agenda. Gentlemen, if y'all have had a chance to review it, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as written.
Okay, we have a motion, and I'll second that. With that, Jim, vote.
Aye.
I'm aye. Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
All right, that brings us to citizens' comments from the floor. So we will be discussing the budget tonight, and unlike the last meeting, which when we spoke about the budget, that was in a public hearing. This is citizens' comments from the floor, so if you have something to say about the budget, we'd love to hear it. If you have something to say about anything else, please do. When you come up, please state your name and address. Okay. Seeing that there are no comments from the floor, we'll move on to the discussion of fiscal year budget 2023, 2024. Kim, I appreciate you making the corrections to the budget. First, if we may, I'd like to talk about the general budget, being that that's first here on the packet.
Okay, well, before we get to rolling, Mr. Foy, I want to make sure that I am correct with the copies I have.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Thacker,
Your budget message that Ms. Martin laid down in front of you just a few minutes ago is the correct one.
okay,
And you're good.
okay, the general fund numbers and the spreadsheet for the Water Enterprise Fund are correct. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Guys, I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on the general fund budget. I will have some, but I'll yield to y'all.
Well, I've got one issue. I'm not too fond of taking $9,300 out of our savings.
I'm also not fond of that, Jimmy. And looking at that, I got a couple questions, but looking at that, I think the big driver behind that would be the $40,000 that is in the budget for the codification of the code book or the developmental ordinance. I'll have some questions about that, but I also have a question about a line item in the budget that, has been there for years. We haven't spent the $10,000, but the fire inspections and investigations. What exactly are those? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but are those for private businesses?
They come into businesses.
We're under contract. Of course, we receive money, and then a lot of it goes back to Guilford County, and the fire marshal contract is one of those paybacks to the county. I think there's two elements to it, the normal inspections, and in the event if they do actual investigations, I think it's possible that we'll be charged for that. So we never know when we're gonna have a fire that would require the investigation, I think. I have read it, but it's been ages ago.
Well, I just got to thinking about it today and was wondering if, do private business, when they have inspections, are they responsible for paying those at the fire marshal, or does the town government pay for those?
The local businesses do not pay them, based on what I know.
They don't.
So the government pays for them, or are we reimbursing the fire marshal for that? And if you don't know, that's fine, but,
And again, I see it as two different things within the same contract. It's
Okay.
the normal inspections plus the possibility of forensic type investigations in the event there's an actual fire that requires, some time.
Okay.
Individual businesses don't pay. I guess the town of Stokesdale is paying. If we don't have a check going out specifically for that, then where's the county getting the money from us at, Ms. Thacker?
We do have, we actually pay quarterly, for fire inspection. For the community, let's see, that was the fire extinguisher. What was that right there? We pay them, bear with me. We've got, and I can say I have a business in the town of Stokesdale, and I do not pay for mine.
Yeah, but you don't own the building.
No, I don't own the building, but
The building owner would be the one, I mean, that's who, if you get fined, it'll be the building owner that gets fined and all that.
What are we paying quarterly?
I pay, it ranges. It's not an exact number.
on an installment.
Yeah, no, it's not an installment. For instance, our first quarter fiscal year 22-23, that was for our first quarter was $2,438.50. Our second quarter was hold on here. Let me get clicked in here. Second quarter was $1,587.50. So it varies.
It varies, and I don't know what we're paying for.
I can get an invoice. Of course, I don't have the invoices exactly through here, but
What they do every year is they come through Well, for one, they check your fire extinguishers, make sure they're up to date. Not, they don't do it every year, it's every 3 years. Each business is every 3 years, from what I remember. And they look for things that's gonna cause a fire.
And I think that's important. But the business owner is not paying for that, right? I guess, and I don't want to compare fire protection to something like a backflow preventer meter, but I'll try to make this analogy here. Like, we have citizens that have backflow preventive meters at their home or their business, and they are responsible for paying for an inspection every year. The town doesn't pay to have those inspected. So I'm surprised.
The business owners don't pay for that. It's a very kind of a quick walkthrough kind of inspection they conduct. But
But they'll
again,
fine us.
I think we have that in the budget in the event that they expend significant man-hours investigating a fire. I think that's why
Okay,
it's
well, I mean,
there.
that in itself would make sense.
There's an original master contract with Guilford County. Then every contract with Guilford County tends to reference back to the original contract. Last time I read them all, there was something like, I'm just shooting from the hip, there was something like 7.
Okay,
And so the fire marshal contract is one of those, based on my memory. This was in my first term in office. And maybe we ought to all get them out and read them again, I don't know.
yeah, that's good.
Is that contract renew, or we don't know, or?
It's basically an interlocal agreement between Stokesdale and the county that's continuing to the best of my knowledge.
I just got one from Guilford County. Mr. Floyd asked me to look for the planning one. And it looks like the master contract has everything in it, from tax administration to planning to fire inspections, I believe is in it, E911 service, all these different services in there. I believe it was back to either 89 or 90, but I just got it this afternoon, so I.
Okay.
To get to full government effect, you have to read them all. You can't just read the animal control contract
Okay.
because it will reference back to the
the
original
master.
contract.
Okay.
And possibility even other contracts along the way.
Okay. Well, good deal. I mean, I've been here a little over 3 years, and the line item itself is self-explanatory. I don't dispute that, but I'm just interested in the why behind that. And thank you for sharing what you did, Tim. I will read that master contract. Second thing that comes to mind is this $40,000 code ordinance book for the development ordinance. Ms. Martin, how did you arrive at that number? I know it wasn't a quote, but it was an estimate, but.
It was an estimate based on the representative for municipal code, what has cost in other municipalities, a basic cost of that. I really don't think the updates to the development ordinance will be anywhere near $20,000. But a code book from scratch very well could be that much.
Do we have to have a code book or an internet? I understand we would need a hard copy, but do we need a very robust book, or could we have an online version?
You'll have both. We'll only get like 1 or 2 copies, and that doesn't include, probably only includes 1 or 2 copies, hard copies, but then it'll be accessed through the internet. And we pay an annual fee to host that to the internet. I don't recall what it was, we just got the bill, I think.
Municode.
Yeah.
Well, that would be outside this 40,000. Do you think we could accomplish the project for $30,700? That number, I arrived from that number because this budget has pulling from the undesignated funds $9,300. And the driver behind that is the one-time expense, if you will, behind that is this developmental code recodification.
What was that total again?
$30,700.
We'll certainly try. Like I said, I know there's only, as far as I know, there's only 3 amendments to the development code. That shouldn't cost us maybe $1,200, $1,500. But then the code from scratch is what's gonna drive most of that. And I would imagine that would be at least $20,000. So we can certainly try to stay within that budget.
I would like to if it's realistic. I mean, I don't want to put a budget figure out there that we don't think is realistic that we'll only come back and have to amend later. I would like to put a target out there that we realistically can hit. And 40,000, we talked about that in early May, and, you know, it was a swag, and I get it. But, that's a high swag.
How much did we pay Municode to do it the first time for the development ordinance?
Pulled that contract
don't
back
have
in. I wanna say,
In a previous meeting, I think I had suggested we find that and leave it in the breezeway for council members to peruse through and refresh ourselves about how this process works. And I would still like to do that.
if I can recall correctly, it was around 12,000, maybe a little over $12,300 was the original contract to do your development ordinance back in 2016, I believe it was.
Do we have to use Municode, or do we have the option of bidding this out to more than one company?
Municode has done the development ordinance, and I would imagine it will be cheaper to do with them, but there is, American Legal that is much cheaper usually, and I will go out and get a proposal from both companies before we go and print anything.
If I'm hearing some of the rough numbers that you're throwing out, I think 30,700 would be a reasonable figure.
We'll certainly give it a shot. I really do, but
Okay, well, I mean, that's a start.
That'll get my objections.
That alone, I feel good now about the general fund, if we make that change.
That zeroes us out, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm good.
Let me save my.
I do have one objection, one piece I want to talk about.
All right,
The $1,000 for traffic direction for Stokesdale Elementary School. It's in the budget. It's actually under public safety, but in parentheses it has. I still have to protest, put my objection out there. I just don't think that's within our responsibility to do. For one, nobody from the school has come to us during the budget session requesting it, and that was laid out to them. That was the process. For two, I still go back to Guilford County Schools itself has that responsibility, and they've not acted on it. And they've known for going on 4 years now that they've got a problem, and they've yet to step up to the plate. I just object to spending the town's money on that when we've got other issues that are more pressing to the town. I get it. I get the argument that's inside the town, and I get that, but I just think there's two larger agencies that hold that responsibility before we do, and neither one of them has done anything.
I agree with you that we've got two other agencies that they should do it, but they're not gonna do it. We sent a proclamation to them. They're actually gonna ask for some more money. Did you see that article?
No, I did not.
They're gonna ask for money, the towns and the cities to, put money in for the school system, so,
true.
you know, but, I wasn't definitely for doing that either, but I think we should leave it in there for the same, I mean, I've already went over this a couple times, and if y'all wanna vote on it again, that's fine too. I can take it either way we go, but I think we should leave it in there and be done with it. You know, they did come and, you know,
What's it currently under? I'm looking at public safety.
900-90050,
yeah.
page 4.
Matter
at
of
the
fact, she
bottom.
asked the other day, you know, what you needed, and, he sent word by Karen, and I, you know, said we wanted to see, you know, where they paid for it.
Thank you.
And,
My pages was stuck.
You know, to where we would be able to put it in the record for audit.
I mean, I would propose that the town, the money not go to the school, that the town make the cash outlay directly
We
to the
could do it.
sheriff department.
We can do it either way. I mean, that's fine. That'd probably be better anyway.
I certainly agree with Jim that, I agree with everything Jim's saying.
I do too.
No
Except,
doubt about it, but
What,
$1,000,
I don't like it either. The last time I was willing to accept it because Mr. Landriff deemed it important. It's not enough to cause me to vote against the budget. But if we, with all due respect to Mr. Landriff, if we make it easy for the Stokesdale Elementary School principal, teachers, staff to come here and ask for money and we give it to them, that's just, the shortest path to get what they want without going to their administration, going to the school board. I'm just concerned that we're setting up a recurring kind of thing where that will ever increase. I think all of us, to one degree or the other, are frustrated with the Guilford County schools and Guilford County, and we're just a speck in the corner of the county to those folks. They have, their budget is so large. I don't know what to do. I was listening to the radio today, and they were quoting Ben Chavis with Guilford County. He is contemplating reassessing the value across the county again and raising our taxes again.
My understanding is that he's not only contemplating, he's been directed by the state legislation to do that. I think 18 counties or so in the state were told to do that, and that's coming in the next 2 years.
Well, the more they spend, the more I'm less inclined to spend our citizens' money. It's just the way I feel about it. I mean, I think certainly we could raise $1,000 with contributions for that cause, if need be.
Well, there's nobody stopping. That was the whole point. There's nobody stopping anybody from raising it. If you want to raise it, raise it. And then we won't have to write the check. But it's there if it don't get raised, and it don't have to be a concern of the principal. I'm not for us getting in with Guilford County on this at all. But I've stated the way I felt on it. It's a fact. I mean, we're talking about spending, when we replace these trash cans out here, more than that for a trash can. They're not going to do it. The school board. I mean, we're the small fish in the big pond, and you're talking about $1,000. I mean, we.
My issue is not the money, it's that we have a line item that's subsidizing the Guilford County schools in our tiny budget compared to their.
Vote it back out if that's what y'all want to do.
To their budget.
I don't want to do that.
I'm okay with the $1,000 being in the budget. It's just
I don't like it for the same reasons you two guys don't like it. I expressed that to start with. And I agree that it could get raised, and if it does get raised, the money's still sitting there and doesn't have to be spent. But if it doesn't get raised, she's assured that she's gonna have $1,000 to pay a sheriff's deputy to have him to do traffic for a week.
and if she doesn't have that assurance, that my point being that she's more inclined to ask her administration for the money. I have no idea how the inner workings of the school administration actually operate. I don't know whether that's.
We got responses. Did we not get some responses from that?
I think the sheriff said that it was not in his budget to do.
Yeah.
But my concern with his budget is he's got people running around here taking pictures with him and doing all this stuff. That's 1 week a year. He could prioritize his staff to focus on the schools instead of other things. 1 week a year. They just took off some of the pistol permit stuff off the sheriffs this past year, and he's got people that can come out here for a couple hours and if nothing else, his own deputies could do it unless they got called off. If you've got people available to make $1,000, then you've got people available to reassign their schedule and assign them to this post.
I agree.
At your normal salary. That's just my thought.
No, I agree with you. I think it's awful that they won't do it. I mean, I think that's the whole thing. I mean, I think it's awful they won't do it, but they won't.
Do we have a written request from the Stokesdale Elementary School for money?
No, sir.
They came in that one time, and It's probably, I'll take this, I'll probably just take the blame on this. It's probably my fault. I told them I'd carry the water on it. So that's what I did. I mean, why won't I have 3 or 4 teachers have to come back in here and speak again with an attorney sitting there at $200 an hour, when they've already asked for it? We knew that they wanted it. So,
Well,
you know,
I just would, if a citizen asked me, the crowd's not too thick in here tonight. I have some citizens that are obviously not here. If one of them asked me, well, why are you doing this? I would just feel more comfortable if I had a request on the school's letterhead that, hey, we need this help, and here's what we're gonna do with, here's why we need it, here's what we're gonna do with the money. This board's responsibility is to serve the citizens of Stokesdale. If they wanna have us take over the schools, then I want the tax money that Guilford County's getting to perform that function.
Ms. Martin, can you contact the principal of the school and ask her to send in the request so we can have that on file?
Sure.
I mean, I don't think that's anything but a phone call, if that's
I
what you
agree.
want.
And I would like the cash outlay for this to be from the town to the deputy, not to the school.
Yeah.
Well, they think so little of us that they won't put their request in writing. I don't, that's where the way it feels. I don't know.
No, I just sit here and told you that it was probably my fault.
Well, if you're having communications with the principal, then you certainly know more about it than I do, Jimmy. 'Cause
As a single council person.
Yeah, and nothing
I
wrong. I'm not
wasn't
saying,
representing the vote of any
I'm not
council.
saying there's anything wrong with that. I just know I haven't spoken to her about this issue.
Are there any other further comments about the general fund budget?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I leaving this line item, or
Yeah, I'm okay with it, but I do want to make sure we follow the other 2 requests. For a request from the principal and an outlay directly from us, because I find it hard that it's going to be $1,000.
Last year it was 810.
It may not be, but it just,
Okay, so we've made one monetary change to the budget.
Yes, sir. Line item 40350 is now $30,700. And if you go to the revenue side, the $9,300 from the undesignated funds, pulling from the quote-unquote bank, would be marked through. With that reduction in expenses, we have now a balanced budget.
Did you say
Totally based.
37.7?
Sir?
I'm sorry, my pen quit writing.
$30,700.
Thank you.
Ms. Martin, I do have a request. We have a bunch of pens in town hall that have rubber things over them. If you could please eradicate these pens, we have about 50. They're not functional. If we could just put every single one of them in the trash and go to Kmart or wherever and get some old ones. But these just simply will not work.
Be well and safe when you do it.
Yeah. I asked young Robbie to do that before he went to class. I think he thought I was kidding.
He's watching.
Is he?
Yeah.
Tell him the pens are still here.
We can't sign us
pens are
checks.
still here, Robbie.
Can't sign us checks for these pens.
Oh, they're just terrible.
maybe he'll learn this in school.
T or Jordan, if y'all want some, I wouldn't give it to my
Tim, do you
worst
think we ought
enemy.
to put these on, Gov Deals?
If you think we can get any money out of them,
This is something my kids got from China.
Make it,
Box of deals.
make it a note, I haven't got anything to do with disposing of this property.
All right. Oh, well. If I need to reimburse the town the $10 these pens cost, I'll be happy to
God, I
do
hope
so,
they didn't
just so
cost
I
it.
never use one again.
I hope they didn't cost
Or
that
any
much.
citizen or council member or staff member. They're bad. Okay, guys, I think we're at a good spot on the general fund. What about y'all? Y'all think so?
I'm good.
Okay, I'd like to talk about next, the special revenue funds. I don't see that
Ever seen
document.
Print that out for him.
Grants restricted funds, is that what we're looking at? Where you?
Yes, you have that.
Okay. It's on the back, near the back.
Okay, second, mine is the second to last page.
Do you have yours, Rixie?
Yes.
Okay. Do you guys have yours? Okay.
So in the second column, you'll see is the town's ARPA money, the $725,000. If you will note that Kim has added the encumbered expenses that are known. Actually, for the survey, the $7,100 has already been paid out, I believe. But the park and the pickleball and basketball are the encumbered expenses. Do want to note the pickleball and basketball says $247,000 there. The total cash outlay for that's $297,000. However, $50,000 of that is going to be used from the town's small town development grant, which we already got in the bank.
That's right.
Okay?
This-
Okay. I'm sitting here thinking as I'm talking. But I
Mr.
want to,
Mr. Foy, let me interrupt you if I may.
absolutely.
There's a survey listed for $7,100, and then there's a Fleming Engineering, Civil Engineers and Land Surveys amount for $7,100.
Well,
Is that the same money twice, or
Yeah, that's-
is that just a coincidence?
no, that's redundant.
What?
We need to strike one of the $7,100 expenses.
Oh, good eye there, Mr. Jones. How in the world did we miss that?
Thank you, Ms. Thacker. Even a blind hog gets an acorn every once in a while.
I just fixed that. And let me save.
I wanted to talk about the $50,000 that is in the draft budget for the lighting at Stokesdale Community Park at 8400 or 8401 Capri Drive. Council had a good discussion with Mr. Baumforth, who's here. I appreciate you being here, Jordan. I don't really need to hear the pitch again. Everything you said was good. For me, have you had a chance to think about some concerns that council had about ensuring that that community park stays a community park long after our current board, the Parks and Rec Board, is gone? And if you have, I don't want to veer too far off topic, but be brief, but this is somewhat pertinent to the budget. So I would like to hear your thoughts, if you've had any further consideration on that. And if you could step to the mic, sir.
I don't think that mic is on yet.
Are you okay if I submit one of these to you for review to pass along? These are the bylaws, that, in consideration with the conversation last week that we had about, actually generated, through service.
Okay,
Great.
I'm happy to bring them for review if it's on.
yeah.
You just sit right here and use this mic.
Jordan can just sit right here where,
Come over here. Yeah,
Don't let him sit in that chair. I don't want to be paying nobody $200.
Can't.
do whatever.
I'll get a bill.
They won't let him sit right.
Not legal counsel, just to make sure.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I feel like I shouldn't be sitting here, so
Just don't send no bill.
If you would, name, rank, and serial number, please.
please don't. Thank you so much for having me again.
your name
Jordan
and
Baumforth,
address.
7708
Thank you.
Hap Court in Stokesdale. Really appreciate your time again. I know there's so much to deliberate and approve and get passed along. Since our last conversation, went ahead and was able to locate the original articles of incorporation, print them out and bring them here for review, met with the board, and determined that there had been no bylaws, at least officially, that had ever been created, which was not in violation of anything, as the articles of incorporation were the overarching for it, but the bylaws were essential. And so we paid for a service to draft North Carolina bylaws pertinent to the nonprofit effort that we have here. And there's a lot of the usual meetings, the votes, the majority, the unanimous, all of that nature. We researched whether or not we could involve irrevocable clauses that are unamendable in that nature. Per our research, they are able to be done, not for the entirety of the document, but for particular sections. And so I want to, with your permission, read just 2 sections here that we've included in these bylaws. Whether or not this goes through, the program having bylaws is a huge win, and something that near and dear with this grant is the protection of everything that's happened in the last 2 years from a financial standpoint with the program. With all the work and everything to rehab it, we would like to once and for all not see that go back into a state of disarray.
I do think it'd be pertinent, even though this is a special called meeting, that those bylaws are pertinent for council for making a budget decision. So I would like to hear those. So thank you, Jordan.
Thank you. So Article 9, Section 3, under property for the execution of corporate instruments, lists that no property owned or contracted by the corporation organization, which is the Stokesdale Parks and Recreation, whether in part, parcel, or full, shall be diverted or sold from its purpose by any transaction to private, nonprofit, for-profit, residential, or commercial entity, except in the interest of full corporation organization, acquisition, or merger with the town of Stokesdale by unanimous vote of the directors of the office. So there's a clause in there put in place for the protection of the future of the program and based on the growth of the town itself, that if there were ever a moment to consider a merger, migration of sorts between the two, it would be up to the board, but it would be only for the town of Stokesdale as far as that clause.
Now, you got that set up to where you guys make the decision if there's a merger, not the town of Stokesdale.
That is
I
correct.
don't want the government to be.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah,
This
okay.
is for future programs that if they ever consider anything of even the smallest amount of land, nothing happens unless, given the rate of growth of this town, and if there is something down the road that ended up making sense that we can't foresee at this juncture, it opened up the door for just that specific merger and nothing else.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have a problem with it as long as the people in town were wanting to do it. I wouldn't want to have it set up to where 3 council members could go in there and take the park over. You know, so that sounds like that's what you've done. That's great.
Correct, correct. So it would have to be done on both ends. For all everything that would be put in from the board standpoint, it would clearly still have to be a partnership with the town and whoever's in those positions at the time.
Jordan, have you talked with an attorney on that? That I want to make sure your interests are protected as well.
So with everything that's on here from an indemnification standpoint, this was a paid service, tailored via a legal web representation to be able to go through. Personally, I like to file these so that they're actually out there and not just sitting on a Google Drive for hand-me-down in generations. So that's the next step there.
They're no good if you don't file.
Yeah.
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 So what I would envision if something came to pass, you know, obviously Parks and Rec would have to take that vote and then they would present it to the town and then we as a council would have to take a vote to accept it or not. And we may or may not accept it, you know, who knows what the conditions would be, but
Well,
I think that's how I would envision.
There's more to those conditions if you like to, yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as Parks and Rec simply taking a vote and it becoming the town's, I mean,
No,
I would
I-
hope the towns wouldn't want it. The town wouldn't want, I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would imagine that even though they would take a vote, it still wouldn't be binding until the town
Right.
accepted it. I mean, obviously the attorney could advise us better on that,
Okay.
but
Correct.
that would be my thought on that, was we had to vote to accept it.
And that's by design, yeah.
What's that, what he's doing, this is great what you're doing, is setting it up to where you won't get a board in there that could be a little shady.
Malicious.
And, yeah, and
right.
do something and, you know, sell the land off with the money. That's what he's doing, and that's a great thing, should have been done years ago. I guess we've been lucky.
Yeah.
We have had good, you know, fairly good people to run it, and everybody's had to tell them, I mean, you know, the park in the best interest in these guys, that's what they're doing, so I applaud you for it.
Me too, Jordan, especially since it's only been a week since we last met. You've been on the ball. You said there were some other conditions?
Yeah, so the other condition for my own interest in the preservation of the program involves Section 5, which ensured annual reporting, public transparency within the board itself. All the annual auditing that has been done the last few years would continue, regardless of who, in accordance to the bylaws where that transparency exists in perpetuity. And then finally, considering bylaws do have the potential to be amendable at some point down the road, there is a clause in there in Article 12 that says these bylaws may be adopted, amended, or repealed by unanimous vote of the directors then in office, except for Article 9, Section 3, and Article 10, Section 5, which is the property transfer or property divestiture, as well as the reporting with the annual reporting. And then in the construction and definition, Article 14, it repeats it. Under the context otherwise requires, the general provisions, rules of construction, and definitions contained in the nonprofit as amended from time to time shall govern the construction of these bylaws, except in Article 9, Section 3, which is the property protection, and Article 10, Section 5, as herewith stipulated in Article 12. This was a fun week of learning how to figure this out. So this was a paid service, again, through the legal websites that they have out there that provide the North Carolina tailored votes, or creation of all these things. So,
And has your board adopted this now?
yes,
So you've
Wow.
already voted?
yes.
Okay, so you're gonna get it recorded?
Yes. So we'll have notes be able to cover as far as, because this, unofficially, there has never been any sort of formal, hey, here's our notes, here's our meeting records, here's all of that stuff that's never existed before. So now it all exists.
I'm not trying to lead the witness, but you know, it sounds like even if this $50,000 wasn't a discussion item, this would be something. Since you heard Tim and Jimmy, you know, you guys have lived here forever, and their concerns and their history, you know, this is a great thing, no matter what happens.
This is beyond the grant. If we get the grant, if it doesn't get the grant, this is the protection of
Yeah.
the kids' experience
I'm-
and what's going on in forever.
Would you mind if we tied that 50 to the recording of that?
I would love for that to happen. Yeah, by design. That was the hope, to be able to have something.
Or anything like that? We'll,
Do you think you could get it recorded by next Wednesday? Because I would like for this to be an agenda item, Wednesday when we're gonna do the budget, so we can get this going if the majority of council believes.
Now, to be recorded, I've read a couple of different things about this, but haven't actually done it. What is your definition of getting it recorded?
you have to have an attorney go to the register of deeds and have it recorded onto the deed.
Okay.
And that's what it, come down to. I don't necessarily have to have it next week, but, before we write the check,
Sure.
just say, just put an amendment here that, in our budget, that, that we'll cut the, I don't know when we'll cut the check, but we'll cut the check for that, and, once they've done that. And that just secures, that's a great thing. I'm just
It's
so
great,
tickled.
Jordan. I mean, this is
I am
big time
tickled.
for that program.
I have a copy if you want.
I think it's
Yeah.
If you
exactly,
could email us. Or
Yeah.
I
email
think
Ms.
it's
Martin.
exactly what the founders intended at inception, based on what I know, so.
It is.
Well, after all your stories last week, this is way bigger than just a moment in time as far as the grant. There's, yeah.
Okay, I would remind the board that Mr. Winfrey has sent us an email with some legal points regarding this subject. I haven't made any decision on those points. But him not here tonight, we should give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room to review
Yes, sir.
what we're
Would love that.
intending doing here.
If you could email that document to Ms. Martin and so she can share it with us.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay?
Yep, that's super.
Great work, Jordan. I mean,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That was really the only thing I wanted to discuss from the grants, the special revenue funds, if you will.
You guys don't realize how big that was, because that was worth, y'all are gonna get likes, but it was worth that, just to firm that up.
That's right.
For the community down the road, because you never know what's gonna happen. You never know who's gonna get where, anything. And, although that's not foolproof, because you could get a bad council and a bad down, but that's not apt to happen. It's just not apt, you got too many variables there, so I am tickled.
I am too.
Hopefully, it'll encourage people to donate a little more too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
great.
Well, we're in our water enterprise fund. Tim, if you could,
Do we need to, vote on these changes to the, general fund budget we made?
I'll be happy to make a motion, going back to the general fund, that we reduce reduce item 40350 from $40,000 to $30,700. And we also remove the $9,300 from undesignated funds. If you could make that change to the general fund budget, that's my motion.
Can you,
And we're striking $7,100 on the grants and restricted funds.
As well as strike the double counting of the $7,100 for surveying under the ARPA funds.
I'll second the motion.
Okay?
can we add a provision about the recording of the, park? How would you put that on there? Would you put that on there?
We were gonna get it on the next agenda after, and that'll give us some time to consult with Mr. Winfrey.
I was gonna put that on the agenda for Wednesday's budget meeting. They would have, one agenda item would be the budget here, well, of course, the public hearing, then an up or down vote on the budget. And then if the budget does pass and includes this $50,000, I would like to have an agenda item for the $50,000 to Parks and Rec, where there be a vote, up and down vote of council to do the $50,000 strictly for the lights or the poles, with the condition that the new bylaws are recorded.
Now, I thought did we not take a vote on that?
In the last meeting, we took a vote to have it, for Kim to put it in the rough draft of tonight's
Okay,
budget.
okay, that's good enough. As long as
So-
we get it done, that's fine.
I think from there, it's gonna be in the formal budget that we will be voting up or down on Wednesday night.
Okay.
But even if we approve it with the Parks and Rec in the budget, I think we should have a separate line item to, just like we do with everything, yeah, so.
Yeah, absolutely, okay.
And I need to take about a 2-minute break if y'all wanna continue with the water. That'd be good, coffee. Coffee and water going through.
I think we need all our wheels on the ground here.
Let's see.
So that changes that. Yeah, that's gonna change.
Mr. Foy has left the room. He'll be right back.
631. 631.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the Water Enterprise Fund.
Well, Foy, you made a motion, I seconded a motion. Did we vote?
We didn't, okay. Sincere apologies. The motion was to make that reduction for the code book by the $9,300 and also to take the $9,300 out of the revenue line item, as well as remove one of the $7,100 expenses from the ARPA fund. We have a second. Jim?
Aye.
Am I? Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Okay. That brings us to the Water Enterprise budget. You know, in looking over this, I have no concerns and feel good about it. Gentlemen, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I don't have any concerns myself as far as the water enterprise budget goes.
Okey dokey.
Making the assumption that this reflects what we have discussed in our budget workshop meetings and includes the changes we went through. I know I've had a little trouble getting this refined. I don't think I had any big questions.
All righty. Jim, how about you, my man?
I don't have anything.
All right, I'll make a motion that the finance officer, budget officer, propose this rough draft of the Water Enterprise Fund as the draft for the budget workshop meeting. Excuse me, for the budget meeting next week.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion? Jim?
Aye.
I'm aye. Jimmy?
Aye.
And Tim?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes, which brings us to the next agenda item. Number 5, discussion and possible vote on town hall meeting room usage.
Well, I don't know. Could be a couple of us. You know, we called a meeting for Thursday, and we, got set up for what we found out later, that we had had it reserved. I'm not sure that we don't need to have a day during the week every week that we don't reserve, just in case things come up. I mean, just, let's talk about it.
I think it's a great idea. We know the second and fourth Thursday of the month is planning board and regularly scheduled town council meetings, so building on what you're saying, if we just if we've always blocked off Thursdays for special call meetings that we had to call, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, because we need to be able to conduct business, and it's hard enough to get us, all 5 on a special call meeting.
I'll make a motion that council reserves Thursday evening after 6 p.m. for town business on the community room calendar, that being for possible council meetings, workshop meetings, planning board meetings, committee meetings, et cetera, but for the conduct of official town business.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any discussion? Mr. Rigsby?
Aye.
I'm aye. Jimmy?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
I have an additional motion, if I may.
Yes, sir.
That would be for the nonprofits that aren't paying for the community room, that we add some verbiage to the bottom of our facilities use agreement wherein we reserve the right to cancel their reservation for the room with 48 hours notice. We have to give the public 48 hours notice to have a special call meeting anyway. We'd still be running the risk that we didn't need the space for an emergency meeting, but that rarely happens, so I feel kind of comfortable with that. But as time goes on, we have more and more nonprofits that are utilizing the space here. And basically, we are encouraging that by not charging these nonprofits. And I'm certainly don't want to get on a path where we're going to build another meeting room so town council will have a space. That doesn't make sense. So that's why I would make the motion that we put a disclaimer on the bottom of the facilities use agreement that the town reserves the right to cancel that reservation if they're not paying, so that we have an out if we need to meet.
I'll second the motion. And I'll just make this comment. I'm okay with having the out. I mean, many forms have an out or things have an out. But I think we always should be considerate of the organizations that do use this room often have to plan ahead, such as HOAs. I'll use them for an example because that's what the conflict was with tomorrow night. They often have management companies that carve time out of their schedule, and they might, that management company may manage 50 different HOAs. So it would be very inconvenient if we had to invoke that clause, but at the same time, town business would, you know,
Well, I
So-
think we need to be mindful our oath of office is to the town of Stokesdale and not to local HOAs. That they will just have to fill in underneath us, but if they want to go ahead and pay the fee, then that would remove that clause, and that would help the town's budget a little bit also.
Okay.
They can't have their cake and eat it too. They get a free meeting room, and I don't like that because I think we're encouraging more and more use. I think everybody should pay a little bit, but that's just me, that's my personal opinion as a council member. But for Pete's sake, let's don't get us in a situation where we have somebody meeting in this room every evening and council has to do a workaround like we did for tonight's meeting. I don't, it's okay, it worked out, you know, we're getting it done, no big problem. But what if another HOA had the meeting room reserved for tonight?
yes, sir, point taken. And I second your motion because I'm going to vote for it. Any further discussion? Jim?
Aye.
I'm aye. Jimmy?
Aye?
Tim?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. That brings us to, excuse me, any more discussion on the town hall meeting room usage? Not, that brings us to citizens' comments. Citizens' comments. Anybody would like to speak, please feel free to do so.
We'll start from the back and work our way up.
Only 3 minutes.
That's right. All right,
Everybody needs some, you know, time to speak here.
okay.
Say something.
That brings us to council comments. Mr. Rigsby.
No, I appreciate our citizens coming out tonight again. It's a busy month, but we'll get a lot of things done, so appreciate y'all coming out.
Congratulations to Parks and Rec for the bylaw change that, you know, putting the grant aside, like you said, Jordan, that's generational as well. We used that word the other night, and that's a really big deal to the folks in this town. We do have a special called meeting 1 week from tonight, Wednesday. I would like to have a couple items on the agenda that may not have been, excuse me.
Is it Wednesday or Thursday?
No, sir, it's Wednesday.
Why is it on Wednesday?
There was a conflict with some council members for Thursday, so we decided it would be Wednesday at 7 PM,
Oh,
which is
God.
the 21st.
Okay, I may have a conflict in my personal schedule I need to go back and look at. Okay, wanted to clarify. So a week from tonight.
Yes, sir,
All
7
right,
PM.
thank you.
We're gonna have the public hearing continued. We've got the budget adoption as an agenda item. I would like to see an agenda item, $50,000 grant to Stokesdale Parks and Rec for lights and light poles. And if you guys want to word that differently, that's fine. And also, I have a question for you, Kim. Was there a 3% cost of living adjustment in this budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so item number 4 would be the 3% cost of living adjustment for staff. That's what I would like to see. Any of you gentlemen are, feel free to add anything y'all would like to talk about.
Just to clarify what you just said, so the money's allocated in the budget, and what you're basically doing is enacting it effective whenever?
July 1st, yes, sir.
Okay, just want to
Yes,
make sure
sir.
I'm clear.
And that's all I had. Thank you guys for coming out, and thank you, gentlemen. Y'all have a good week.
I didn't get an opportunity to speak, Mr. Foy.
I know, I was
Said it all.
just wrapping up for me. Next up is Jimmy.
He said it all. Well, hey, I'm tickled that we have a budget that, we're not going in the bank, again. And I am really, I can't say how tickled I am with the Parks and Rec, what you're doing. That's big. And I appreciate it, and I think other people, they might not because they don't know, but if they realize, you know, what was going on, what you're doing, everybody will love you for it. So they do anyway because of, you know, the programs you put on and all. But thanks a lot. Mr. T, thanks for being here, even though you
Yep.
don't want to talk.
And safe travels to Florida. Mr. Tim.
I'd like to thank our 2 citizens that attended the meeting, and especially I'd like to thank Parks and Rec for understanding our perspective, the way we see it, and you know, we're here to protect all of our citizens' money, And I appreciate the understanding, appreciate what you've done with the bylaws. Hopefully we'll get this sorted out and be good for everybody. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Just announcements. We do meet Wednesday, the 21st at 7 PM in a special called meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, have a good night, folks.
That's all, folks. Hey, if anybody would like to support the high school football team, I've got tickets, $10 a piece.
Did you understand my shorthand here?
The boys need some
Yeah,
new
I'll-
equipment. Landreth.
New budget adoption.
That's what I was looking right there to make sure I stuck that in,
Get in a trailer title.
but I'll have it to stick in there, and I've already updated
Hey,
the
we
budget
get those
message.
shirts from you. Wear one every time.
Already updated everything. I did not put this in yet. Should be okay. And I may actually just go ahead and put it in there,
$7 to buy
because it's
the
not gonna
number.
hurt. to
Really?
Then you gotta take it
I
to a
only
state
have one
employee, like a
question.
highway patrolman, state law enforcement.
Yeah, I didn't know if y'all made them.
I just noticed, I have read
I mean, I didn't know if